My next guest is a lightweight contender from Queensland, Australia. And on September 23rd at Eternal MMA 79, he'll be entering the Eternal MMA cage for the first time in 2023. He's the man they call the dog, and I am a big fan of him. Jimmy O'Brien joins me today. Jimmy, welcome, sir. I'm a huge fan of you. I appreciate you showing up today.
Nah, thank you for having me, mate. Anytime, of course.
When you have the moniker the dog, that is not a nickname that just anybody can get. You have to like earn that name. And I watched your last fight against Niam Steven. You earned that name. You are exciting. You are very violent. I love watching you fight. And I have to ask, like, when did that like nickname get bestowed upon you? Like, how long have you been called the dog?
yeah, a few years, about 2020. I got it down. I was down at a gym in Brisbane and hanging out with some of the guys there. To be fair, at the time, it was good times. And where yeah, it's a bit of a longer story. It may be a bit of a inappropriate story, but we got like the name got there and it kind of stuck. It had a good vibe to it. It had a good feel, and it was exactly that. It just stuck. It was just right, felt right. The boys at the time, it just worked. Seemed to go with the personality. It seemed to go with the style, and yeah, we just kept it. I just kept it. So
It's befitting for your fighting style. And I wanted to kind of back up a little bit and ask you more about your MMA journey. Now, I feel like for people, it's one of two things. And I'm curious in your case what the answer is. Did MMA find you or did you find MMA?
I'd say MMA found me. I think really, I think I was just rolling around, young, like aggressive, competitive, love fitness. You know what I mean? And that come by into Australia. And I was playing rugby league and rugby union at the time, and I was kind of getting sick of it. And this rolled around, and I'd always boxed. I'd always liked boxing. I just thought, yeah, I'll give it a go, kind of thing. Well, I better start off with jiu-jitsu because I've got no idea what that is, and got into that. Fell in love with it instantly. Realized I'll do it till I'm old, and yeah, it just grew and grew and grew and grew. Got into the jiu-jitsu scene, and then that got into the MMA scene from there, and fuck, here we are.
Here we are
Still
indeed.
going.
And before we hit record, I said something about you. I said that you're Australian Justin Gaethje. And when I watch you, it's just like, this is a
Oh, high
guy
praise.
that is going to like press the gas. He's going to be incredibly violent. Like, I don't think this guy has like a boring strand of DNA within him. And when you go out there and fight, there's something primal about you that comes out where it's just like, no, like we're there to fight, and like that's
Yeah,
exactly what you're gonna get. And I wanted to
yeah.
ask, like, where does that come from?
Oh, I'd say it's just the guys that we come up with. Like when we first started, I think MMA was a little bit different. It was a fight, like you hanging out with all the OGs, and they weren't. It was before social media, kind of thing. Like social media was like kind of it started around the same time, so it wasn't really as mainstream as what it is now. So if you were doing it and you were serious about it, yeah, you were a psycho. So and that's we just all agreed, and that's how it was. And we take it seriously. All the guys that I grew up with, we've all had the same view. Like we're here to fight. Like I know there's a time limit. I know there's points. I know all that, but yeah, it's not when Nate Diaz is talking about how like it's a fight's a fight. Like I get that. That makes sense to me.
You train out of Hellraiser Combat Center and Ignite Martial Arts, as it shows on your T-shirt there. And I was curious, like, uh, David Martinez is there. He's like one of my favorite fighters in Australia. He's very,
Yeah.
very technical, a
Yep.
great grappler, a great wrestler. How did you end up training at those facilities with your teammates, with David Martinez? How'd you end up at that particular gym?
Yeah, just I was just down in Brisbane, and like I'm at the Sunshine Coast now, so well, it's an hour north, and I was always going to come up here and live here eventually. Anyway, it happened a bit sooner than what I thought, and I literally needed a place to train. Had a bit of a look around and realized that some of the guys are training here and training there, and I showed up to Hellraiser with Ryan Doyle. He was already training uh, John Martin Fraser, so they kind of got me interested straight away and come in, met them, we clicked. I agree with their training, the way they run things, and that's where I started at Hellraiser, and then eventually came through to down to Ignite, where we are now. So
Jimmy, can
that's
you
how it
tell
all
me a little
started.
bit about the fellas that you are training with? Because I've talked to Liam, I've talked to David, I've talked to you
Yep.
now, and you all seem to kind of have this. It's hard to exactly like put words to it, but you guys are kind of like all kind of cut from the same cloth in a particular way. From my observation, I look at it and it's just like
We're very
these guys
similar.
are all scrappy guys that you don't want to fuck with. Like that's
Yeah,
just
we
kind of
gel.
the general vibe I get from you guys.
Yeah,
Like, what is it about this place? Like, tell me about your gym. Like, tell me about like what's the
yeah.
culture like? What are these fellas like every day?
Oh, yeah. Obviously, like I can speak for them. Yeah, they're beautiful dudes. They are all those guys, nice guys. But the way that we train under Dunstan, who's the head psycho, yeah, yeah, it's we train hard. We send it. Yeah, we go. And I agree with that. I do agree with that because I think like as hard as you know what I mean. If nothing's going to be harder than that training room, especially with those names that you brought up, like John Fraser, Dave, Sean Gauchi, Jake Piper, guys like that. Like, yeah, it's and then we go and have these crazy sessions, and it gets you ready mentally, physically. So, and obviously that style of training not for everyone, but it weeds out the people that don't really want to be there. I guess
So,
you know what I mean.
are
So,
you are you comfortable saying it takes like an unusual fighter to be where you guys are? Like, not every fighter is probably cut
nah, yeah,
for you guys.
nah, no way. Yeah, not yeah, 100% for sure. Like, yeah, because we do we train hard. We send it, and yeah, I guess you might look at it, you might go, oh, it's a bit old school, but whatever works, eh? Like,
So,
like
and you tell me if I'm allowed to put this in the recording or not. Like, I've heard it's kind of like Sean Strickland-esque training where you guys go hard and beat the hell out of each other every day.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So when we hear about what he's doing, it's like, oh yeah, cool, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we call that a Wednesday.
That's exactly right. And we have this discussion all the time. Like gyms will have like a special night for certain things, and we're just like, well, that's Monday to Friday. So, and yeah, like I said, like I know it can be conceived as old school, but at the same time, like we need to know. Well, I need to know. I need to know that I can go there. I need to go there regularly every day. And then when I know that, then I can go into the cage. And I know full well.
I
So
I interviewed Liam a few months back, and I kind of got a familiarity about him and his life and kind of what he's all about and what he has had to sacrifice in order to pursue this dream. And I was blown away by what I heard from him. I was just like, oh
mm,
my God. Like, I don't know. Like, has there ever been a point in my life where I've ever wanted something as much as he wants MMA? And I had to like,
yeah.
I heard his story and I really had to like, it caused me to like reflect and like reassess a lot of my own shit. Cause I'm like, man, I bitch and I whine all the time about all kinds of things. And I hear what he's doing. I'm like,
Yeah,
geez, like talk about
yeah,
not having any room for any excuses or bullshit after hearing that guy.
yeah,
And I bet
yeah.
you have a story too, and I kind of want to get at it. Like all these years, I think people still truly don't understand what it takes to compete at your level. The sport is just too new still. And
Yeah.
what people don't understand, they don't understand the nutrition, the discipline,
Yep.
and all of the training requirements that you're putting in,
Yep.
and the paltry pay that you get in exchange for all of this. Like
Yeah.
you cannot
Yeah.
make a living off this. You can't pay
No.
your bills. You have to
Nope.
like have regular work outside of all this. And I was hoping you could tell
Yeah.
me, like, what does a typical day look like for you? Like, how do you manage all this? I know you're a father on top of
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
this as well. Like, how
Yep.
the hell are you
Yep.
doing all this?
Oh, that's a very good question. It's an excellent question. Yeah, well, as you said, like as you just as you put it out there, it is hard. Like, so like a standard day, I guess you you get up early, go to the gym, go to work, go back to the gym, come home. Yeah, and it's exhausting. Like, and it is exhausting. But like, it's the things you got to do to get to where you want to get to. And like you said, those sacrifices come into play. Like, no, you can't just go to the pub randomly and eat. You can't. You literally you give it all up. It's like an obsession. It really is, and it's kind of get tunnel vision, and nothing else really matters. And I'm sure that's the same for everyone else as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's exactly it. So, and then you can throw the child in on top, little boy. So yeah, it gets challenging. A polite way to put it. It gets challenging at times, but it's worth it. You live once, you know what I mean. I've got this body right now. I've got the energy. I can make it happen right now before I get too old, and
Mhm.
that's what I intend to do. Make hay while the sun shines.
And there's only a micro fraction of the human population that has any remote understanding of what it is that you do. And trust me, like I have a vague understanding, and that's just because I cover this sport. Um, I know what it is that you do just because of up here, but like in here, there's no way. Like there's just no freaking.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
there seems to be a common denominator amongst people like you where it's like there's all this sacrifice, all this hardship, the thousands of dollars that you spend out of pocket to do this. That's the other part of it
yeah,
that people don't understand.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you're doing it for that one moment of glory, that one brief
yeah,
moment of glory. And
yeah.
like you go back into your tape and you watch your last victory from a couple fights back, and it's like that one moment in time, it's just like,
Yeah,
and that's why you do this, right? To
yeah,
like
100%, 100%. That's what that feeling that you're talking about. It's worth it. It's all worth it for that. It really is. No, not a lot of people do it. Not a lot of people fight. Not a lot of people willingly fight. Not a lot of people put their lives on hold for that and sacrifice that much for it. And when you finally do, it's just yeah. It's a crazy sport because it can go the other way as well. Highest the highs, lowest lows. Sometimes you think, why the fuck am I doing this? What a stupid sport. But like you said, when you're winning and you have that feeling, you can't be. How can you replicate that?
Can I ask you, like, you've been a professional since 2015 and you have fought against some of the like top fighters throughout Australia. There are several others. I look on your Tapology, I see other names on here I recognize. And whether it be through fate or circumstances, some of those bouts never materialized. I do hope you fight Dimps one day. I think that'd be a freaking fantastic fight. I'd love to
It'd
see
be a
it.
banger.
I
Yeah,
want,
that'd
I
be a
want to see
banger.
that fight. But
That man can go. He can go. That dude.
I Australia needs. That's all I'm gonna say. But when I
Yeah,
look back at your career, you are just a very violent guy, and like the Jimmy O'Brien fight, like you win fights by finishing guys. You either knock them out or you strangle them. And when you look back at like all the wins that you've had throughout your career, is there one that kind of like stands out at you? Like that's the one that I really enjoyed the most. Is there like one name on this resume that you have about that you had that was particularly memorable?
particularly memorable. I'd say Yeah, I guess as far as, and it's not really so much about him, but it'd have to be a fight with Darcy Vendy, and it wasn't really much about him, but it was more the fact that everything synced up, everything for the first time lined up perfectly. It was like it was meant to be. The training was there, the mind was there, and that's the most important. Everything lined up. So, and he just, I guess, unfortunately, he just happened to be the man. But you know what I mean. And all respect to him, he's all right. Like
Hey,
it's just one of them things. It's just a bit unlucky. Like just in the wrong place, wrong time.
people, this is the theme I've kept stressing repeatedly, and I tell people when I'm asked about you, it's like just watch his fights. Just watch his fights. And if you don't like watching this guy, then we'll agree to disagree. And
Yeah, yeah,
I know well enough that throughout Australia, like everyone in your country knows exactly who you are. People know what they're going to get when they watch you fight. You're getting ready to fight in your home backyard, really,
yeah, yeah,
in a few weeks' time. And there are
yeah,
people that pay a lot of money to go to these fights
yeah,
specifically to watch you fight. And
yeah,
because they know they're going to get a treat, they know they're going to see something
yeah,
on the drive
yeah.
home
Fuck
they're going to
yeah,
be talking about. They're going to be like,
yeah,
man,
fuck yeah,
like, that Jimmy fight, did you see that shit? Like, regardless of what
yeah, fuck
happens,
yeah.
everyone's going to be talking about it. And I was curious, like, is that something that motivates you? Is that something that like puts pressure like on your soul? Like, I've always been curious to ask that question. Like, you're a fan favorite. People pay a lot of money specifically to watch people like you fight. And is that something that you think about like when you're making these walks?
To be honest, not really. Not really. I wouldn't want to go down that path and get carried away and kind of let the
Mhm.
ego kind of come in. Like I've kind of tried to keep it pretty pure, to be honest, in that sense. Like I am who I am. I know who I am, and I know what I want, and I know how I'm going to go out there and do it. And as it's turned out, it's quite entertaining. So you know what I mean? So it works. It works for them. It works for me. I'm glad we've synced. But yeah, I'd be doing the same thing. Doesn't matter what I do, really. It's the same. I'm coming that way.
I would be remiss to not use this opportunity to ask you about the Niam Steven fight. I have to say, I know you didn't get the result, but I loved that fight. I loved every minute of that fight.
I appreciate it.
I watched this fight. So for me to watch you fight, I have to get up at 4 a.m. to watch these fights. Um,
Oh
it's
yeah,
it's pretty fucking punishing if I do say so
yeah,
myself, but I do. And for me, when it's 4 a.m. and I'm watching, Australian MMA here in the States, if I remember it, it was a good fight because I'm half asleep still. I'm kind of on autopilot. I'm not really paying, it's tough, right? I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that fight and I was screaming at my TV. My wife is coming downstairs and she's just like, well, it's fucking 4 in the morning. What the hell are you doing? I'm like, I'm watching Australian MMA. Just like, you're insane. I'm like, I know. But your fight had my blood pressure up. Like I was watching it, I felt engaged. Like it was super entertaining. It was one of the best Eternal fights that I've seen in recent memory. What were your takeaways from that? Like, what a brawl.
Yeah, it was
I
wild.
loved that fight, but like when you go back and you watch it, do you get like a similar sense of like joy just watching that as a fan? Or is it just different because you're involved? I know it's kind of weird talking about yourself like that, but
Yeah, yeah.
I loved that fight so much.
You look back, I guess you look back and you're proud. Like you're proud of what you've done. You're proud and you know, like, and you can see, and that's kind of where you find out who you are and who they are. Like you're both truly opening yourselves up, and then that's how you know. Like I said before, like I'm one of them guys. I need to know, and however we get there is however we get there. But looking back at that fight in particular, yeah, it's like he did well. He did well, Niam. Like he cleaned my clock early, and then I was trying to. My game plan went out the window, and I was trying to come back, and the only way I knew how to come back was through that, using nutrition, using fitness, and kind of talking about like whether it's a fight or a sport. That's exactly what I mean by that. It's not a sport. It's not a sport to me. There's no time limit. Pretty confident I end up on top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't get killed, and that was mine. I was coming out to kill him. But at the same time, like he did what he had to do. He showed up that night. He's a tough dude, that Niam, and he did what he had to do. So credit to him. But yeah, whether it's a fight or a sport kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It
Yeah,
was an absolutely barn burner of a fight. And when you look back on it, like, through a coaching lens, right? Where it's like, okay, well, every time I don't get a result, I'm supposed to have like this like big awakening or like a big like learning lesson from this to make me a better fighter for my next bout. Like, what's that theme when you look back at that fight against Steven? Like, is there something that you
yeah.
see where it's like, okay, these are the things I want to improve on before I
Oh,
make.
for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And we've spoken about this at training as well. Like, you can, like, if we have to have a war, if we have to do that, so be it. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. Wherever you want to go, we'll go there. But I did, like, from a cerebral kind of stance, it'd be, yeah, mixing it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mixing it up, using that brown belt, using that wrestling. You make being more complete, being a bit smarter. You know what I mean? Because like those wars, like as fun as they are, and they are fun, and you figure out who you are, and you figure out who they are, and I love that. But it takes years off your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it might be time to change it up. But like I said, hey, you want to go there? You want a good time? I love a good time. I'm
You
more than
are
happy
the
to.
type of guy where I can only imagine it's impossible to keep somebody like you away from these cards. Like if you're healthy and you're ready
It's
to
hard.
go, like you seem to
Yeah.
be like Jane earns her money because you got to be the guy probably texting her every day like I'm ready to fight, I'm ready, and she's probably like, "Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I know." So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I love you, Jane,
Yeah.
best. But in any event, like after the Stevens fight, it's been a minute, right? And you've been supposed to fight two different times, and that's got to have been like a lot of adversity before you even walking through the cage because you're preparing, you're training, you're trying to get ready for these bouts, and they never materialize. So I kind of wanted to ask, like, has like 2023 been kind of like a crap year for you because you've had two bouts that you were supposed to fight, they don't materialize, and here we are, it's August 5th, so not much time left in
Hate it.
2023 and we're just fighting for the
Yeah.
first time, and that's like
Yeah.
not you.
No, 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 it's not. And it's hey, look at it, you're not fighting, you're upskilling, of course, but yeah, but you're not fighting. And that's it is annoying because you punish yourself. We have these long camps or short camps or whatever, however long they are, but at the end of the day, you're having camp after camp after camp with no result, with no fight. So it's punishing. It's physically taxing. It's mentally taxing. So that, yeah, I'd say that. But we made it finally. September, we got there.
So that leads me to my next question. You've had a couple bouts in 2023 fall off. And when does the Street Buddha's name come across your desk and you look at it and be like, yep, we're ready to go? When did Eternal reach out to you and talk to you about this bout in September? When did this materialize for you?
Materialized, yeah, materialized probably, I'd say about a month ago.
Hmm.
About a month, a couple of weeks, about a month ago. Like same weight, going to the same shows, kind of rolling around the same scene, kind of thing. I watched his last fight. Yeah, quite impressive. Yeah, you know what I mean. Good, put a pace on him. It was good. And the name popped up, and hey, you put the name in front of me. To be honest, that's that's it. That's all. That's all there is to say about it. You give me the name. Let's go.
So here we go. You're going to be squaring off for the first time in 2023. I bet you're really excited. And without giving anything away, because I want to find out when I watch you fight in next month. So don't give me too many spoilers here. But I did want to
Mm.
ask, like, just stylistically, when you look at what this man's capable of, you see his success in the past, you see what he's done. what is the path to victory for you? Like, where are the obvious advantages that you feel that you have over your opponent, and why are you going to win when you fight this guy next month?
I think just through the experience, just through the stand up experience. Yeah, I think that's my path to victory. I really do. I think he's a bit of a guy. He's a goer, and he's a bit of a goer on the ground. He's got some scrappy jiu-jitsu, and I seen him lifting that dude he fought last time. So he's got some wrestling. And I think my path is to, yeah, to keep it standing. I think I've got the experience in it. Had the kickboxing fights, had the boxing fights. And I think that's it.
Well, that
Without giving too much away.
Yep. Well, I don't want you to give too much away because I want to watch this fight at 4 a.m. Uh, next September. But Jimmy, I will ask you before you go. I know that you'll be in the corner for Dave Martinez. David, of course, is going to be fighting here on a very big card. And when I think of David, a lot of adversity, really. His health has been compromised in the past. Of course, he fights, he defends his title. That doesn't work out for him. So there's been like a string of adversity for him. But now, of course, he gets back in the winning column again, and he's going to try to do that again. He's going to try to go back to back for another win on a massive
That's
card
right.
in Sydney. Of course, the
Yeah,
UFC's in town as well. So you're talking about a
yeah,
card with a lot of high profile fighters. You're going to be
yeah.
cornering him. And I can only imagine like you're way more nervous for him to fight than your own fight a
Oh,
card later.
man,
Like, what is it like
man.
when you're in the corner for somebody like that? Like, are your guts all in a mess? Like, is it like a pretty
Yeah, yeah.
anxiety?
It's nerve wracking. Yeah, him and Kieran Joblin, like the third round, and Dave's just kind of cruising around, taking it easy, and we're just like, fuck that, like, fuck, almost couldn't look. Yeah, that last minute, that was an eternity. It went forever. Time slowed down. So yeah, and I never thought I'd be that dude. If you had asked me, do you get nervous? I go, nah. But I found out watching Dave. Yeah, I do get nervous. Get real nervous.
So for David, like, where is it that you see when you look at him? Obviously, he wants his crown back. Like, you're not going to keep
Yeah,
that
yeah,
away from that guy. Like, he
that's right.
wants back.
Yeah,
He wants to fight Scaled, or I don't know if I said his name
yeah,
correctly, but he wants
yeah,
that fight. And in your
yeah.
mind, like when you look at this, like, does a victory over his next opponent like give him first consideration for a title challenge for Eternal in your mind?
It definitely should. Yeah, it definitely should. Like, I think he's fighting Jack Becker. That is a bit of a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
He's a former champ, and like this Sydney card, it's the best of the best. It really is. So you'd think best of the best. Next shot's the title. Whoever was to get it, they'd get the next shot. Dave wins. That's his shot. That's what I think.
Absolutely. I had one kind of final question for you, Jimmy, and it's simply this. When you look at like where you are, I feel like you're kind of like in a maybe midway point of your career. I don't know. Maybe you're even prior to that. But what is it that you're trying to accomplish? Like, what are your ultimate goals in this sport? Because everyone, of course, always talks about the UFC. Everyone always talks about fighting
Yeah,
for like a huge promotion.
everyone.
But if
Yeah,
there's something like more personal that you're trying
yeah,
to accomplish, this I'm not really so much concerned about like all those other accolades. All that
yeah,
stuff's great, but like, what
yeah,
is it
yeah.
like? Why are you putting on these 4 ounce gloves and putting yourself through hell to do all of this for everybody? Like, what is your why, and what are your drivers? Like, what are you doing all
Yeah, I'd say for myself, for starters, like I said, I want to know. I
this?
need to know. I'm that dude. I need to know whatever I need to do to get it. That knowledge of knowing who I am. That's what I'll do. And secondly, after having my young fella, I just want to be a mad dog for him. I just want him to look back and go, "Fucking hell, Dad, that was wild." Yeah, so he's a big part of it. He's a massive part of it now. He's overtaken what I want now. it's for him now, if anything.
What would it mean for somebody on your team, whether it be David, whether it be you, whether it be one of the other fellas that you mentioned previously, what would it mean for your team at this point in time for one of you guys to fight for a PFL, to fight for a UFC? Like, what would that mean for your team at this point in time?
Oh, it'd be everything. It would be everything. Yeah, all the whole it would all the boys would love it. The whole gym, the whole community that we have, everyone would get behind it. It would be and everyone would just roll with it. Everyone would go, right, you're up. This is your shot. Let's go. How are we going to do it? It would bring everyone together, and we'd make sure we'd give it our best shake. Because yeah, it's funny. It's like individual sport, but it's a team sport at the same time in a weird way. And I think if somebody was going to get that opportunity, our community would rally. It'd be nice.
Well, I do feel that an opportunity like that will be forthcoming. You have an immense amount of talent in your gym that nobody really talks about. And ironically, an
Mm,
American from Washington D.C. knows how talented you guys are, and I don't
yeah.
even think everyone in Australia quite knows. Other than
Nah, nah,
so,
nah.
I feel like I'm
It's
privileged.
underrated. Yeah, it's underrated. It's underrated. Definitely underrated. Coaching stuff's underrated. You got Ryan Doyle. He's a wizard on pads. He's a wizard with his striking. Dunstan. He's a wizard with the grappling. But yeah, criminally underrated. Same with the gym, and then you throw us all together. We'll flog each other with these geniuses watching us, and yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that.
So
Criminally underrated.
I think so. And you know what? In case I have done a terrible job in this interview, I wanted to give you the final opportunity, sir. And it's simply this. There's a lot of people, most of the people that are going to be watching this interview on YouTube. I would say it's going to be a 60-40 split. Probably 60 Aussies, 40% Americans are like, Jimmy the dog? Like, that sounds badass. I'm going to check this guy out. Right. And they're going to go on Fight Pass and they're going to watch you fight and stuff like that. And I want you to have an opportunity to tell like people who've never heard of you before that are just stumbling on this interview on YouTube and they're seeing it, like what is it that you can expect every time you go out in the cage, every time that we see your name on a fight card and we're getting ready to like tune into Eternal or wherever you happen to be fighting, like what is it that you want the general public to know when you go out and when you fight? What do they need to know about who Jimmy the Dog is? What can they expect to see when you get out and you fight, particularly here next month on in September?
What can you expect to see? Oh man, me, me showing you who I am. There's intensity there. There's a proudness there. There's a love in there. There's a physicality in there. Yeah, it's and like if that's what you're down for, and if you're there for a fight, that's what you're gonna get. And you're gonna watch someone who takes it very seriously. And I'm willing to go as far as I need to go, and you'll see that.
Well, Jimmy, I can completely understand why you're such a beloved person in your community and why people pay money to watch you
Oh,
fight. It's very
appreciate that.
obvious to me. And I wanted to give you the final word, sir. I know that some of these opportunities are few and far in between, and I just kind of wanted to give you this platform. If there's anyone out there that you'd like to thank, the floor is yours, sir.
Oh, pretty standard, I guess. Really, just the community that we have. The community, like it is a team sport. I wouldn't be here without them. The guys that put their time and their effort into me. Of course, like my partner Cheyenne. Like it's nice having a partner that supports you and rolls in. It's so much easier. I've never had that before, and I finally got it. And I don't want to lose it. I don't want to let that go. Yeah, so that's who I'd thank. Yeah, you can do it on your own, but it's hard. It's a lot easier with a bit of support. That's for
Well,
sure.
Well, Jimmy, I appreciate you spending some of your Saturday afternoon with me. It's been a true
Yeah, I
honor, and I
appreciate it.
hope that I can have you back in the aftermath of your fight, sir.
Yeah, of course you can, mate. Of course. Whenever. You let me know.